There's a strange contradiction that shows up in most homes. We stock up on groceries, yet somehow a surprising amount of that food ends up in the trash once it goes bad. And it's not usually because money is tight. It's because we don't always choose foods that are meant to last. Some foods are designed to be eaten right away, while others are meant to sit patiently and wait their turn. This video isn't about healthy eating, and it's definitely not about fear-driven stockpiling. Instead, it focuses on 12 foods that can stay tucked away in your kitchen for years, quietly dependable, even when life doesn't go according to plan. If there ever comes a time when shopping isn't as easy or routine as it once was, these are the foods that will still be there, ready when you need them. Let's get started. Number 1. Pure maple syrup. Some foods go bad simply because time passes. Others spoil because we misunderstand what they really are. Pure maple syrup falls squarely into that second category. It isn't a casual sweet meant for constant snacking. It's one of the rare foods made in such a way that time has very little power over it. At its core, maple syrup is an extremely concentrated sugar with very little water. That low moisture level naturally prevents bacteria and mold from growing. Not because anything artificial was added, and not due to modern processing, but because its very composition resists decay. In the late 1700s and throughout much of the 1800s, families in colder parts of North America often lived far from the nearest town. Winters were harsh, roads disappeared under snow, and regular food shopping wasn't always an option. Inside small wooden houses, where firewood had to be used sparingly and meals were often basic, maple syrup wasn't treated as a treat. It was kept as a practical source of energy. On mornings when supplies were low and the body felt drained, a little syrup could make the difference. There might not have been enough food for a full meal, but people still needed strength to shovel snow, mend a fence, or simply get through the day. A single spoonful stirred into warm water was often enough to slow weakness and keep the body going in the cold. That same principle still applies today, especially for older adults or anyone whose body struggles with heavy meals. In those moments, the goal isn't eating until you're full. It's delivering energy in a way the body can handle. Maple syrup does this gently. It doesn't hit the system like candy, it's easy on the stomach, and it doesn't require cooking or preparation. It's not meant to be consumed in large amounts every day. But when you need it, it's reliable. It doesn't turn against you just because time has passed. One detail matters above all else. It must be real. Only pure maple syrup, without corn syrup, additives, or artificial coloring, has this long-lasting stability. When you choose the right kind and keep it properly sealed, maple syrup stops being a luxury item. It becomes a quiet form of energy insurance, sitting patiently in your kitchen, ready for the moment when life stops following its usual routine. Number 2. Cornstarch. Pure cornstarch. Cornstarch is one of the most stable food substances people have ever relied on. Not because it's rich in nutrients, but because it offers almost nothing that living organisms can use. In its basic form, cornstarch is nearly all starch, with virtually no water and no fat. Those missing elements matter. The two main forces that cause food to spoil, moisture and oil, are completely absent. Without water, microorganisms can't survive, and without fat, there's nothing to oxidize. As a result, cornstarch exists in a kind of pause, barely changing as time passes. When it's kept perfectly dry, it won't rot, grow mold, or break down. It doesn't need refrigeration, vacuum sealing, or chemical preservatives. Moisture is the only real enemy. Even a small amount of humidity can ruin it, causing clumps, strange smells, and a total loss of usefulness. In daily cooking, cornstarch tends to stay in the background. It thickens soups, smooths sauces, and helps foods reach a texture that's easier to swallow and digest. But in extended periods of shortage, its value goes far beyond the kitchen. When water isn't fully clean, cornstarch can be used to gently clean vegetables. When skin becomes sweaty, irritated, or lightly damaged, a dusting of dry cornstarch helps absorb moisture and ease discomfort. In situations where hygiene products are limited or unavailable, it has long been used as a natural drying agent, especially for older adults or people who are bedridden. Cornstarch doesn't exist to make you feel full. Its real strength is in making everything else work better. It helps food move through the body more easily. It reduces physical irritation when living conditions are difficult. And it does all of this without electricity, tools, or specialized knowledge. For cornstarch to last for years, storage needs to be simple but precise. It must stay dry, tightly sealed, and protected from moisture and strong odors. An airtight container kept away from heat, sinks, and steam is enough to preserve it quietly for a very long time. Cornstarch isn't dramatic. It doesn't stand out. But when supplies grow thin and daily routines start to unravel, it's one of those unnoticed items that helps keep life from slipping completely into chaos. Preparation isn't about eating perfectly. It's about refusing to let time win. Number 3. Instant coffee. Instant coffee is almost completely dehydrated, leaving virtually no water behind. Without moisture, bacteria have no place to grow, which means it doesn't spoil in the way most people worry food will. When it's sealed and kept dry, instant coffee can sit for years. What fades over time isn't safety, but aroma, and even that disappears slowly. Still, caffeine isn't the real reason instant coffee matters. For many older adults especially, coffee represents the opening beat of the day. It's the quiet moment in the kitchen before sunrise fully settles in, a small ritual that tells the body the day has begun and that some sense of order still exists, even when the outside world feels uncertain. In long periods of disruption, people often don't run out of physical energy first. What disappears is the will to start. A familiar cup of coffee keeps the morning from dissolving into yesterday. It creates a clear line between one day and the next, preventing time from blurring into something exhausting and shapeless. Instant coffee makes this possible without effort. It doesn't rely on machines or specialized equipment. You don't need a full kitchen or a complex stove, just hot water. That's enough to protect a habit that isn't about stimulation but about staying grounded. When your kitchen holds only the essentials, a small jar of instant coffee can still give the day a proper beginning. And when shopping as usual is no longer an option, what remains on your shelf becomes a reminder of what's steady and real. Number 4. Dried lotus seeds. Dried lotus seeds aren't meant to satisfy hunger in a dramatic way, and they aren't designed to fill you up quickly. Their purpose is patience. They exist for times when the body can no longer manage heavy, oily foods, tough textures, or anything that takes effort just to chew and swallow. When lotus seeds are fully dried and the bitter core is removed, they contain almost no fat and only minimal sugar. That simplicity is what allows them to remain stable over long periods. Stored properly, dry, sealed, and protected from moisture, they don't truly age. They don't rot or spoil. They simply wait. During extended periods of uncertainty, older adults rarely fear sudden starvation. What causes real concern is eating something that leaves them uncomfortable, too full, bloated, unable to digest properly, or unable to rest afterward. Food that disrupts the body's balance can be more exhausting than hunger itself. Lotus seeds do the opposite. Once cooked, they soften easily, place very little demand on the stomach, and move through the body without strain. They don't weigh you down, and they don't ask the body to fight just to process a meal. They won't make you feel strong overnight. Instead, they slow the process of weakening. A light bowl of cooked lotus seeds isn't just nourishment. It's a way of protecting the body's natural rhythm when everything else feels overwhelming. There was once a brief, honest comment left under a video that said, "Preparation isn't about living in fear. It's about making sure that when life slows down, your body doesn't fall behind." Dried lotus seeds exist for exactly those moments. They aren't loud or dramatic, and they don't promise instant results. But they quietly support the body through long, demanding days, helping a person endure without breaking from the inside. Number 5. Dark chocolate. 70% cacao or higher. Dark chocolate isn't meant to satisfy hunger, and it's not stored as a tool for survival in the usual sense. Its purpose is far more specific. It's there for moments when basic needs are still met, but the feeling of being fully yourself begins to fade at the edges. From a structural standpoint, dark chocolate contains very little sugar, almost no water, and a high concentration of antioxidants. When it's kept cool, protected from light, and sealed properly, it doesn't truly go bad over time. What changes is the surface or texture, much like how people change as the years pass, not in a harmful way, but in a quieter, more muted form. Chocolate is rarely ruined by age. It's usually damaged by how it's treated. Heat exposure, leaving it unsealed, or consuming it thoughtlessly like ordinary candy all strip it of its real purpose. Dark chocolate works best when it's used deliberately, when a small amount is allowed to be enough. In difficult times, dark chocolate isn't about energy. It's concentrated memory. A faint cocoa scent, a mild bitterness on the tongue, and a brief pause that reminds the body it doesn't have to rush, that today can still begin gently. For older adults especially, that pause can mark the difference between simply enduring the day and maintaining a personal rhythm of life. It's not about becoming stronger, it's about not being slowly worn away. If your kitchen ends up holding only the bare essentials, a carefully stored bar of dark chocolate becomes a quiet signal. A reminder that people don't survive on calories alone, but also on the experience of being treated with care and dignity. Number 6. Traditional soy sauce, naturally fermented. Traditional soy sauce isn't meant to make food exciting or impressive. Its real purpose is simpler and deeper than that. It exists to help a meal still feel like a meal when time stretches on longer than expected. By nature, true soy sauce is a fermented product built around salt. Long fermentation, high salinity, no added sugar, and no artificial additives create an environment where bacteria simply can't survive. When it's made the right way, it doesn't need freezing or complicated preservation methods. It can remain stable on its own for many years. When soy sauce goes bad, it's rarely because time has passed. More often, it's because the wrong kind was chosen. Modern versions often include sugar to soften the taste and additives to speed up flavor. They work well in a fast, convenient lifestyle, but they aren't designed for endurance. Over long periods, the real challenge isn't running out of food. It's losing the desire to eat before hunger ever sets in. Plain rice eaten day after day won't cause immediate harm, but repetition slowly wears people down. Monotony drains energy long before the body runs out of fuel. A single spoonful of properly made soy sauce, used sparingly, can break that cycle. Not because of saltiness, but because it restores the sensation of eating something intentional. It reminds the body that this is still a meal, not just consumption. If coffee helps anchor the morning and chocolate protects the spirit, then traditional soy sauce safeguards the habit of living. It makes the act of sitting down with a bowl of rice still matter. So tonight, when you reach for the soy sauce you use every day, take a moment to ask yourself, was it made for quick convenience? Or was it meant to stay with you for the long run? Number 7. Dried corn. Dried corn isn't part of the modern kitchen because it's quick or convenient. It exists because, throughout history, people needed a food that wouldn't turn against them, simply because time passed. From ancient societies in the Americas to communities forced through drought, migration, and uncertainty, dried corn was often the final food carried forward. When corn kernels are fully dried, they almost step outside of time. With no oil, very little moisture, and a dense, hardened structure, they offer nothing that microorganisms can use. They can remain dormant for decades and still be safe to eat. Someone once captured it perfectly. Dried corn isn't meant to be delicious. It's meant to make sure time doesn't win. When other foods thin out, spoil, or disappear, corn remains. That quiet endurance is exactly what allowed entire civilizations to survive. Today, dried corn is easy to dismiss. It doesn't match modern expectations. It isn't fast, it isn't ready to eat, and it doesn't immediately invite appetite. But over long stretches, survival isn't about speed. It's about flexibility. Dried corn can be ground into flour when lasting fullness is needed, simmered into porridge when the body is tired or weak, or cooked whole when slow, steady eating is required. One simple staple can be adapted to meet the body where it is. If soy sauce gives a meal its sense of meaning, dried corn ensures that a meal exists at all when everything else has faded away. It isn't modern or impressive, but it is so durable that entire civilizations once depended on it. So when you glance at your kitchen shelves tonight, you may not need to ask what tastes best. Instead, ask the quieter question: what will still be here the longest? Number 8. Dried seaweed. Dried seaweed isn't meant to satisfy hunger or leave you feeling full. Its role is more subtle than that. It exists to prevent the body from slowly failing when fresh vegetables are usually the first things to disappear. By nature, dried seaweed contains almost no moisture. That alone allows it to resist time. It doesn't mold easily, doesn't break down quickly, and doesn't demand complicated storage conditions. But its real value isn't how long it can sit on a shelf. It's what it preserves inside. During extended periods of shortage, the body rarely collapses from lack of calories at first. What weakens it is the absence of micronutrients. Iodine, minerals, and other trace elements quietly regulate heart rhythm, body temperature, and mental clarity. When those are missing, the body doesn't sound an alarm. People simply grow colder, more fatigued, and less steady, without knowing why. Someone once said it simply, preparation isn't about avoiding fear. It's about preventing the body from paying for it later. Dried seaweed fits that idea perfectly. It doesn't attract attention. It doesn't create a sense of fullness or comfort. Instead, it quietly prevents depletion, something many people only notice once the damage has already begun. A small amount is enough. Mixed into soup, stirred into plain rice, or eaten on the side, dried seaweed can replace nutrients that are otherwise hard to find. It doesn't make meals richer or more exciting, but it helps keep the body capable of continuing. If dried corn ensures that a meal exists and soy sauce gives that meal meaning, then dried seaweed keeps the body from slowly retreating from life itself. It's a light food with a heavy responsibility. So when you open your kitchen cabinet tonight, you may not need to ask what will make you feel the most full. Ask the quieter question instead. What is stopping me from getting weaker day by day? Number 9. Molasses. Thick cane molasses. Molasses isn't a form of sugar designed for pleasure or casual use. It exists because there were times when the body needed rebuilding, not through large amounts of food, but through dense, meaningful substance. At its core, molasses is sugar-reduced until almost all water is gone. That extreme concentration is what allows it to remain stable over long periods. Unlike refined sugar, though, molasses holds onto iron, potassium, calcium, and other minerals, exactly the nutrients the body tends to lose first when meals become poor or inconsistent. Historically, particularly during the 18th and 19th centuries, molasses was given to heavy laborers, older adults, and undernourished children. Not because it was enjoyable, but because it prevented the body from slowly emptying out from the inside. Today, molasses is easy to dismiss. It isn't convenient, it doesn't look appealing, and it's not something you can eat straight from the jar without effort. But over long stretches of hardship, even a single spoonful can make a difference. It can help keep heart rhythms steadier, extend physical strength, and slow the quiet drain that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. If dried seaweed protects micronutrients, then molasses safeguards the body's mineral base. It won't leave you feeling full, but it can help keep you upright. This isn't sugar meant to please the tongue. It's sugar meant to support the body when options are few and endurance matters most. Number 10. Dried tea. Dried tea isn't meant to satisfy hunger or provide nourishment. Its purpose is different. It exists to protect the rhythm of daily life when everything around you starts moving too fast or feels completely empty. When tea is kept dry, sealed, and shielded from light and strong odors, it can remain safe to use for many years. Over time, its fragrance may soften and fade, but it doesn't become harmful. Tea doesn't turn against you. It simply ages quietly. During long periods of instability, exhaustion doesn't come only from lack of food. It comes from the loss of pauses. No slow mornings, no calm evenings, no moments that separate one part of the day from another. A pot of hot tea doesn't feed the body, but it gives the hands something gentle to hold. It gives the breath permission to slow down. It allows time to pass without everything feeling like it's breaking apart. For many older adults, tea replaces medications they would rather avoid. If coffee anchors the morning, then tea belongs to the quiet spaces in between. It steadies people when instability itself threatens to carry them away. So tonight, if you're still able to brew a pot of tea, even as circumstances shift, you're holding on to a piece of your life's rhythm. And once that rhythm is lost, it can be very difficult to find again. Number 11. Dried ginger. Dried ginger isn't permanent, but it lasts far longer than most people expect. When it's fully dehydrated and stored in a sealed container away from moisture, it can remain usable for many years. With time, its sharp intensity softens, but that gentler quality is often exactly what makes it valuable. Ginger doesn't stop working as it ages, it simply becomes calmer. During challenging periods, the body doesn't struggle only because food is scarce. It becomes unsettled by cold, by digestive weakness, and by a system that no longer feels steady. Dried ginger isn't meant to please the palate. Its purpose is functional, to warm the body from the inside, soothe the stomach, and prevent physical imbalance from setting in. Someone once put it simply: when medicine becomes limited, the first priority is staying warm and keeping the body from becoming unsettled. Dried ginger fulfills that role quietly and reliably. A single slice steeped in hot water may seem insignificant, but it can prevent small discomforts from becoming overwhelming. It doesn't demand attention, yet it helps keep the body from breaking down over things that are deeply uncomfortable, even if they seem minor. If tea helps preserve the rhythm of daily life, then ginger protects the body's physical foundation. Not by making you stronger, but by keeping you stable enough to continue. Number 12. Dried red dates. Dried red dates are deeply familiar, and that familiarity is exactly why they're so easy to ignore. When stored properly, sealed, dry, and protected from moisture, they remain safe to use for several years. They aren't meant to be forgotten at the back of a cabinet forever, but they also won't turn against you just because time stretches a little longer than planned. Red dates don't exist outside of time. They simply move through it slowly. During long periods of strain, the body rarely collapses from hunger all at once. Instead, it grows tired from the absence of gentle nourishment, food that supports without weighing the body down. What's missing isn't volume, but kindness to the system. Dried red dates provide exactly that. They're easy to digest, light on the body, and especially suited for older adults, those who are physically weak, or anyone already worn down by irregular eating. A pot of red date tea isn't meant to heal illness or restore strength overnight. Its role is quieter than that. It helps slow the loss of energy and gives the body time to respond before the spirit gives up. Some days, a touch of mild sweetness is enough to remind a person they haven't been forgotten. If molasses protects the body's minerals and ginger offers warmth, then dried red dates preserve quiet endurance, the kind that carries people through days that aren't dramatic, just long. When preparing for the future, the most valuable things aren't always the strongest. Often, they're the ones gentle enough to stay with you the longest. The 12 items you've just seen aren't about storing large quantities. They're about preventing slow erosion when time doesn't move the way you expected. Preparation isn't driven by fear. It's a calm, steady form of self-reliance. Stability doesn't vanish overnight. It withdraws gradually, almost unnoticed. So if tonight you look into your kitchen and realize one of these items is missing, that isn't a failure or a warning. It's simply a soft reminder. We don't prepare to battle the world. We prepare so we can remain human when life becomes difficult.